Next, I'd like to introduce Jim Dieter. He's our CEO of the Asset Leadership Network. He's been our pioneer leading this group. So, Jim, welcome.
Hey, another great day. This conference is really working out, being a virtual conference. What a great concept, and really appreciate Reese's comments and the good questions. One of the things we wanted to do with this session is to help get people information about the different standards like 55,000, and Reese, of course, expanded beyond that. It's great. But to understand different standards that are available and standard sources, we'll be talking more about that. And different kinds of certifications. And it's when people are just getting involved, it's not often clear when we say certification what we mean. So we've talked about ISO 55001 certification as an organization, which of course is, can have great value to organizations, but organizations can pursue 55,001 practices without getting certified. Similarly, people can be asset managers, asset leaders, without having a professional certification, but there's many available. And the Andrew James Advisory Group, Richard Utevilligan and Lindsay came to the ALN a couple of years ago with the thought of developing a program around ISO 55,000 training, because we saw that there was lots of good certification and training programs in asset management, but there wasn't one that focused on user level practitioner knowledge just on ISO 55,000. So ALN perspective, we try not to compete with other organizations. We try to find ways to work together rather than competing. But we saw this as an opportunity. So I was actually involved with AJAG and helping develop some of the materials on a consulting basis. But Lindsay will be telling us some about those materials and the certification that we developed, the A55K certification. I find it exciting because I've used this process, the training and the certification with clients. And it has value just as individuals to take the class, absolutely. But the stunning practice of using it, I believe, is to take it to an organization where you're starting an ISO 55,000 implementation and get everybody in the room that's going to be the key individuals involved, and get everybody on the same page on ISO 55,000. It can save you an enormous amount of time and money to get people speaking the same language. One example I was involved with, we had experienced quality person, we had experienced government property management people, we had an experienced, a relatively new facilities management person, we had some senior leadership people, so a lot of smart people, different backgrounds. And they knew how to spell ISO 55,000, and that was about it. And we went through this training class, and boom, everybody was ready to go. We were really, I can't imagine how much time it saved in our implementation, just having everybody on the same page. So with that, I'd like to introduce Lindsay Ziegler, and she can tell you about the training, because she is really, the AJAG and Lindsay and Richard Utevilligan have really taking it to another level. So welcome, Lindsay.
Thank you, Jim. I'm going to share my screen real quick here. All right, so since you already said I'm going to talk about training and certification, I'm just going to blow right on past that slide. So I wanted to start by saying that there are two types of certification to ISO 55,000, individual and organizational. And so organizational certification says that your organization is complying with the shall statements in ISO 55001, whereas individual certification, and this is what the ALN's A55K professional certification is, that certifies that the individual has the knowledge to participate in and contribute to ISO 55K asset management efforts. So my organization, the Andrew James Advisory Group, or we fondly refer to it as AJAG, provides training that qualifies an individual then to sit for the exam. There are plenty of other certifications out there. IAM and SMRP have them. Most of those are more focused on asset management activities such as maintenance and engineering. So you will see things like mean time between failure, mean time to repair, maintenance intervals, those types of best practices. And those programs and those certifications have value, but they don't really concentrate on the standard itself. Why do we care? Well, right now, ISO 55000 is gaining momentum in the US in particular, and in federal government agencies. Earlier this year, the Office of Management and the Budget, or OMB, released a circular um, dealing with federal real property management, and in that circular, they specifically called out ISO 55000 compliance. That was kind of good news to us because a couple of years ago, the GAO came out with a report that urged better asset management, but they stopped short of actually recommending ISO 55K. So we were kind of happy to see this OMB report. The result of that report is that now federal government agencies and the consulting and software and other firms that have government contracts have become a lot more focused on what is this ISO 55K and what do we need to do. And as a result of that, professional training and certification is also gaining. So we currently have 77 individuals that hold the A55K professional certification designation, and I expect that to be 82 by the end of next week. In this year alone, AJAG has trained 50 individuals in 3 firms, and all but 5 of them at this point have achieved the ALN A55K certification, and the other 5 are scheduled to take the exam within the next week. One single firm, LMI, has 46 certified practitioners so far, and they've established an ISO 55000 community of practice. So clearly, this is something that is gaining attention and that organizations are really getting interested in. So what kind of course offerings does AJAG provide? Well, of course, we have courses in both on-site and remote formats. At the moment, we're not doing on-site courses due to COVID-19. Everything is being offered in remote. The courses that we have a full ISO 55K/A55K training course, and that is either 4 days on site, which we hope against hope will be able to resume next year, or a 2-week online hybrid format, and we'll talk in a minute about what we mean by that. We also have an executive overview class, which is a brief for your executives who don't have any idea what ISO 55000 is. It's a brief, here's what it is and here's why you care. And then that leads into a 1-day ISO 55K summary course that provides a little more detail, including a bit of the information about, okay, so now you're interested in ISO 55K, here are the kinds of things that you need to think about to move forward with that. There is also a 4-day on-site course offered in Spanish through our training partner in Colombia, Ortiz Ruiz Consultores, and you will hear from Daniel Ortiz Plata in the ALN Español presentation, which is a little bit later in the agenda. We don't currently have an online version of the Spanish course, but we're gathering data to find out, to gauge the interest in that. So if anyone has an interest in the Spanish language online training, please contact me and we'll start to put that information together. So the course content, the course materials were primarily developed by Jim Dieter, who just spoke with us, and he was a member of the original ISO 55K creation team. It's the only course currently available that we're aware of that focuses on the strategic and tactical nature of the ISO 55K standards. And we cover the 3 principal standards, the 00, the 01, and the 02. We don't currently cover the O10 standard, which is financial management in the context of asset management. So we cover the 00 and 01 standards in depth, and the 00 is basically the why of the standard. It's what are the benefits of asset management, what is asset management, and then a large amount of terminology. You know, Jim spoke about keeping, getting people speaking the same language, and that's what the 00 standard does. And I'm going to apologize. I've got mowers out front and they're making noise, so hopefully everybody can still hear me. Then we cover the O1 standard, and the O1 is the shall statements or the actual requirements for compliance with ISO 55000. And again, we cover that one in fair depth. And then the course provides an overview of the O2 standard. It is primarily reference material on guidance and best practices. So it's kind of like an encyclopedia. You don't want to spend a huge amount of time covering it, but what we do want is to have people who are looking at the standards understand how much good reference material is available in O2 to help them as they're moving forward with their ISO 55000 project. Another thing I want to point out is we don't use any outside materials. So all of the materials that we cover are from the 55,000 series of standards, and that is what is covered in the course. That's also what's covered in the exam. Now, when ALN developed the exam, they did it behind what we called a Chinese wall, and that was deliberate. The exam is completely independent of the course. We actually literally don't know what's on the exam. I suppose if I had a photographic memory, I would remember what the questions were when I took it, but I don't, and I don't. So the main reason for doing that is to make sure that anyone who is teaching towards this certification is teaching to the standard and not just teaching to the exam. And we feel that's very important for the credibility of both the course and the exam and the certification. So we offer our online course through the Moodle learning platform, and this is an online learning management system that is heavily used in the higher education space for presenting online course content. And our course includes lectures, online exercises and quizzes, and then live instructor-led discussions that cover the online exercises, and also preparation of a strategic asset management plan, and that is based on an asset management case study which we have developed. Why do you want to train with the Andrew James Advisory Group? Well, we are the first organization to have training accredited by the ALN. We have a 99% pass rate, which is, we feel that's pretty good. Taking the course gives you access to experts in leadership and strategy and in various industries. So you get a lot of networking possibilities when you're taking the course. And we feel that that can definitely provide value to individuals. Now, our CBT hybrid course allows for online training combined with live access to our instructors and experts. And we also present what we call special topics, which are 1 to 2 hour lectures, including one on federal real property management, data management and governance, leadership and change management. And we are continually developing new special topics as time goes on and as we are working with other industry experts. So I want to take a second and just give you a little quick glimpse at the learning platform. So this is the Moodle learning platform. I've made it really big so everybody can see it. As you can see over here on the left, there's a navigation pane. And then over here on the right is the actual course content. And we have a welcome statement, and then we get into the actual course materials. Anywhere that you see this piece of paper with a corner tab down, that's a lecture. So I'm going to go click on the course introduction lecture, and this is what they look like, and then you play and listen to these lectures. And then you can navigate up there in that pane as well. So we have a lecture on an introduction to ISO 55000 that talks about what the standard is, how it developed, and kind of the history of the standard and what it's for. Then we go through the core concepts, and you'll notice that we have, now here we have a lecture on assets, and then we have a discussion. And we ask questions that are designed to make people think about what they're learning in the standard. And then we have people post responses to these, and then these are the basis for our live class discussions with an instructor. And then at the end of each major section, we'll have a quiz. And these quizzes kind of look like this. So you go into the quiz, and you'll see there are true, false, multiple choice questions. I don't ask any essay questions because I feel like the discussion topics provide all the essays that we need. And once you filled out the quiz, then you can take the quiz as many times as you want, because the purpose of these quizzes is not so that we can report your grade to your manager. The purpose of the quiz is to help cement your learning. I do, as an instructor, look at the results from the quizzes, but I'm looking for two things. If there's a question that most people have missed, then either it's a bad question or we've missed something in our training. If there's an individual who is really struggling, then maybe we need to work with and help that individual. So that's the point of the quizzes. Now we come down here, we have 55,001 section. Then we have a section for 55,002, SAMP development, special topics, and then at the very end of the course, we have a review session and exam review questions. Now, again, the exam review questions don't necessarily reflect what's on the ALN A55K professional certification exam because of that Chinese wall. So our exam review is not like one of these, like a GMAT prep course where they're using actual previous questions. It is simply a review of the material that we have provided. So that's basically what the training environment looks like. So we've gotten some feedback here, and I won't read it to you. I'll let you read it, and these slides will be posted. Next up, our next class is planned for November 9th, and that's a 2-week period beginning Monday the 9th. If you have interest in that class, you can click on the link here or type it in, or you can email me at lindsayz@andrewjamesadvisory.com. And that's my last slide. So I will turn the screen back over to Nick.
Thank you, Lindsay. Yeah, I'm going to be quick because I know we're running short on time already, but Lindsay talked about the ISO 55000 professional certification program with AJAG, and I'm going to talk briefly about the ALN A55K professional certification exam, which is kind of the culmination of the course. And on that note, I want to thank the developers of the exam, Marlene Milamachi and Rob Leibrandt and Marcia Campbell. They were the developers of the actual questions and kind of in charge of making sure the exam is something that tests a student's knowledge on the standard itself, ISO 55000. So just briefly on the exam, it's through the popular LMS learning management system Moodle, which you got to see a little bit of from Lindsay's presentation. And the main difference is that we use Proctorio to remotely proctor the exam. Proctorio is a fully automated software that uses artificially intelligent facial detection technology and a host of other tools and data to really ensure a secure testing environment while protecting students' privacy. And so that's of course important because we want to be able to administer the exam remotely to as many test takers as are prepared, in case there's an influx of interest in the course and the exam. We'll be ready for that because we have this remote proctoring capacity. And again, just, wanting someone to make sure that there's no questions leaking or, other materials being used on the exam. We just really want to ensure that our certificate means something and reflects the knowledge and understanding of the student that received that certification. So